If you are a Canadian futures trader trading with prop firms and wondering how am I going to get paid living in Canada, trading with these US firms, stick around. I'm going to let you know.
Gotta get more followers.
All right, everyone, welcome to the video. I'm the Canadian Futures Trader. We are looking at my website, CanadianFuturesTrader.ca. Link down below. Be sure to check it out. All the latest, greatest deals, promos, discounts on funded futures programs, as well as a plethora of information for futures traders in Canada and worldwide. Guys, so a question that comes up a lot recently is, I live in Canada. How do I get paid by XYZ firm? Now, I'm going to use Apex as an example because it's by far the most popular one that comes up. Apex, my top recommended firm, and Canadians are wondering, how do I get paid? So I'm going to preface this by saying I actually created an article about this, so I'm basically going to be verbalizing and showing what is written in this article, but if you'd rather just read the article, you can certainly come here. I go through kind of your two main options. There's actually a third I didn't write in this article, but I don't think most people will want to go that route, but you have a few options. So that link is down below if you want to come directly to the article to learn about it. But basically, as a high-level overview, right now there's two main options. So each company has their own, and I'm going to talk about the first one briefly, and then I'm going to talk more extensively about the second option, which I think will help a lot of people, and I feel like a lot of people don't know that this is even a thing. So most companies, like Apex, for example, has a service they can use to pay international traders, not just Canadians, anyone outside the US. Now, where there's been a lot of turmoil in the industry in 2023 is for like well over a year, about a year and a half, everybody was using a site called Deal. It was a payment processor. Effectively, Apex or any of the companies would pay Deal, and you would, as a trader, would have an account with Deal where you could withdraw your money there. And you had options. You could withdraw it as crypto. You could do a transfer to a US bank account, to your Canadian bank accounts. There's a few other options. There's like a prepaid debit card. So there was a lot of, you could get it through PayPal. Like there was a lot of different ways to move your money from Deal, and it was working fantastic, except for Deal, long story, but Deal decided they didn't want to work with the prop industry anymore. So basically all the companies who were using Deal, which was pretty much all of them, were left stranded and had to quickly find and scramble for a new way to pay traders. So different companies went different ways. For a while, Apex was recommending that traders open an account with Wise.com, and now I have a Wise.com account, and I think Wise is great. Wise's original point of existing was kind of to easily exchange money between currencies, but it also effectively operated as like a bank account, like you could open up an account and then say as a Canadian in Canadian dollars, but you could easily click a few buttons and you then had an associated US dollar account. So you could receive your money into that US dollar account, convert it to Canadian, and then ship it to your Canadian bank. Well, Wise, along the same vein as Deal, decided not necessarily not to work with prop firms, but they made it more difficult for not just Canadians, but international people to open a US dollar account. So it really wasn't working well. There's just a lot of problems with those accounts. So everybody, once again, was left stranded to find other ways to pay people. Now, Apex went with a firm called Plain. Other firms, basically, I feel like almost every single firm out there, trader firm, has a different payment method. Like I know one uses a company called Rise. Another one, I don't even remember the names anymore because they've changed so much. But basically, Plain, what happens is, and again, we're still on kind of the first option. If you're an international trader, and this is for anyone international, when you request your first payout, you'll have to fill in the KYC stuff, know your customer, like prove you are who you say you are, upload ID, do the face scan. That's pretty standard these days. And then you will subsequently be given the opportunity to open an account with Plain. Now, Plain basically is kind of like the previous two. Apex will pay Plain into your Plain account, and then from Plain, you can withdraw it to your Canadian bank account or anywhere, wherever you are in the world, who Apex works with. Now, that's option one, but I've heard some complaints with Plain. They're a little bit slow getting accounts open, as in weeks to open. That might change in the future. I don't know. But as I record this, that's the deal. Now, I'm speaking a little bit outside of my depth in the sense that I don't personally have a Plain account. I'm going off of just what I know. I'm fortunate, if you will, to have option 2 available, which I'm going to explain to you in a second. And actually, all Canadians have it available to you. So let's just get into that. So, and that's what this article really focuses on. So the first part of the article is more just about playing and kind of everything I just rambled through. So second option is to open an actual, and now I'm focused specifically on Canadians for this part. Other countries might have something similar. I can't speak to that. So next part is specifically aimed at Canadians. You can open a US dollar account via your Canadian bank, and all the major banks have this available. So not necessarily credit unions and stuff, but RBC, TD, BMO, I know CIBC, I know I'm leaving out at least one, but anyways, and the example I'm going to walk you through is RBC because that's who I have an account with. So I'm going to switch over to, rather than just read you through the article, I'm just going to bring up the images. So I've got some screenshots to explain all this. I've obviously blanked out all my own information, but I'm going to show you like my own dashboard and how this works. So the high level overview is most banks, and again, we're going to use RBC as my example, will allow you to open a US dollar denominated account, but it's not just US dollar denominated. You also get credentials as if you had a proper US bank account. Now, what I mean by that is in the United States, you might have come across, when trying to withdraw money, ACH, which stands for Automated Clearinghouse. Now, we don't have a proper ACH system in Canada. We use like Interact system. We have transit numbers, routing numbers. Well, ACH is kind of the equivalent of a transit and routing number. So bank has an ACH number, and along with your account number, ACH plus account number, companies are able to pay you, like Apex. So when you open a US dollar denominated account with RBC or any bank, major bank that has it available, you will get a proper US account with an ACH number and its own account number, and you will effectively be able to have, using Apex as an example, Apex pay that US dollar account. You can then do what you want with your money. You could let it sit in the US dollar account, or you could easily transfer it to your Canadian account, and it happens immediately. And that's what I'm going to walk you through with this. But before we get to that, let me just show you a few options. So I just quickly Googled, you can see here, Canada Bank US dollar account, verify, there's obviously always the sponsored links. I'm going to show you RBC again just to stick in the same theme, but I know like TD has them, Tangerine might, this is more just sponsored like an ad. But anyways, CIBC, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, Scotiabank, I think that was the one I forgot. Also HSBC is an option, but anyways, let's go back to RBC. I'm just going to click on their link wherever it went. So I opened, just to give you a quick bit of history, I opened my US RBC account well over a decade ago. Like it was seriously probably about 15 years ago. Nothing to do with futures trading. Just I went to the US a lot. This is, actually at that point I lived in the US, so it was more that I lived in the US and I wanted kind of an easier way to transfer money to my Canadian bank accounts when I would come to visit. So having these linked accounts made all the difference. So when you come here, they obviously have this kind of ad, if you will. You can get a credit card and US bank account. You can just get a bank account if you want. So if you scroll down just a bit, you want the direct checking US bank account. And again, I'm not recommending, like, you do what works for you. I'm giving you the RBC example only because that's who I have, so I can speak a little bit more intelligently about it. Definitely do your research, compare them all. Free and unlimited. And I'm going to show you all the screenshots of this stuff. You also get a debit card, which is kind of cool because it's a debit card linked to your US account. Now, sometimes I know myself, like a lot of times I'll pay for stuff that's US based, a subscription service or whatever. And usually I just have to, if you didn't have this, you have to deal with the exchange rate and stuff. If you just have money in your US account and you have a debit card for it, you're good to go. Or if you are someone who travels to the US a lot, it's nice to just have like a proper US debit card. So, okay, so this is what you would open. Now, back in my day, as they say, and as I say, I literally had to go to the bank and sit down with a banker and open this up. Now, it wasn't difficult. I just had to fill in the paperwork, and honestly, I don't remember what it entailed. It wasn't long. I would say it was like an hour, and it took them a few days to actually like get the account fully open and stuff. But once they did it, that's it. Like, I've never had to go back to the bank or anything. And they'll mail you the debit card and all that stuff. Now, you might well be able to do this online now. I'm going to leave that to you guys to explore. But if it is still a thing where you have to go to the bank and set up an appointment, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Just, again, I forget the requirements, but they might need stuff like your passport, whatever. It's worth the investment of time, I feel like. Like I said, I did it once 15 years ago, and now I still have the account that I use to this day. And especially just as, if you're getting in the world of futures trading and companies in the US and paying you, it makes life easy. So let's get back to these screenshots. Okay, so when I first log into my RBC account, my Canadian account, this is what I see. And obviously I've blanked out all my account numbers and names and dollar amounts and stuff, but when you have opened up your US account, you're going to see this right here in the green. Go to RBC US Banking. I'm assuming if you don't have one, you would not see that. So these are just my normal Canadian accounts, and then I would click on that. So when you click on that, this is the US RBC interface, if you will, online. So your cross-border account. So I just have one. I mean, you could open several if you wanted to. And this is what you see. Now we're going to get to the good stuff and how to transfer money and all that in a second. But honestly, guys, it's pretty simple. But I want to at least put it out there that's available. So you'll have an account, and I'm going to show you on a different slide a full account number, ACH number, etc. But it'll show your balance, what's available, and your account number. Like I said, you get a debit card, you get checks if you really wanted checks. You can pay bills. So this is really geared towards people who travel to the U.S. a lot, or maybe have a second residence in the U.S., any of those things. Maybe you have companies that pay you in with the U.S. check. You could do a mobile deposit with a check. I've actually done that before. Works great. So let's move on. So on this main dashboard, if you click Move Money, so let's assume you've got your U.S. account, you've got your Canadian accounts. Apex pays you, your $20,000 withdrawal. Congrats, you had a fantastic 2 weeks, and you receive your ACH. And the ACH system is fairly quick, 1 to 3 days. It depends. I would say, in general, it is 1 to 2 days you'll receive money when it's sent to you. And it'll pop in here, and it's available right away. I mean, ACH is effectively I don't want to get into the weeds with it. It's like sending a wire, but on a different route, if you will, but the money is available to you right away. So if you go to Move Money, I'll jump ahead. This is the drop down you will see. So transfer money cross-border. Now that's what we're focused on here, and I'm going to show you that in the next slide. But you do have other options. If you had several RBC US accounts, I believe you can set up like a savings account and stuff. You could do that. If you have US bills, again, fantastic. For somebody who has a second residence, you're not going to be able to pay your, AT&T US cell phone bill with your BMO, bank, because there's no bill pay for, from Canadian bank to US bank, but here you could pay your bills. Manage external accounts. You can move money to other US bank accounts. Let's say you had a Bank of America account or whatever. You could actually move money between your own US accounts. Deposit a US check. That's where you do like a mobile deposit. Wire transfers, you can initiate a wire transfer. I believe you do actually have to call in for this. So clicking on this would just give you the instructions on the information you need. But you could, if you needed to send a wire, you could call it in and they'll give you the info and then other options. I forget what's there. Transfer money cross-border. Let's get to it. So you've got your $20,000 from Apex sitting there. You're excited, but it's in your US account and you want it in your Canadian bank accounts. Well, that's all you have to do. Transfer money cross-border. You'll see here. So again, this is a screenshot from my own personal account. It'll say, from account. So you can select your US account. That's mine. And to your Canadian accounts. Those would be my options. I have just a checking and savings account in RBC. Then you would, it's kind of hidden here. You would enter the amount, and then I think the next part that people are going to get hung up on is the currency. So again, you have 20,000 US dollars sitting in your US account, and you want to move some or all of it to Canada. Well, the default's going to be USD. You have 20,000. Let's just say you want all of it moved to Canada. You put in 20,000, you leave it as USD, you hit continue. RBC will do the exchange rate. They'll say, okay, 20,000 US dollars is worth about, right now it would be about 27,000 Canadian, give or take. That's roughly what it would be worth now. They'll do the conversion rate. I found their rates pretty fair. So you would put in 20,000 USD, hit continue. Another option, let's say it's something else. You're like, you know what? I've got 20,000 US in my account. I don't need it in my Canadian bank account right now. Maybe you want to leave some in the US for whatever reason. But you know what? I could really use 5,000 Canadian dollars, but I don't know what that is in Canadian. You would just drop this down, change it to Canadian, enter 5,000. They'll do the math. They'll say, okay, 5,000 Canadian is roughly whatever it is, 38, and I'm guessing 3,800 US dollars. They'll do the math, hit continue, boom. I'll also mention it happens immediately. When you hit continue, it's there's probably confirmation screen. I didn't go that far with this, but that's it. It's just moved into your account. There's no waiting. There's no nothing. These are both your bank accounts, right? You're literally transferring money cross-border from your U.S. account to your Canadian account. The limit, I know at least my limit, maybe you can call in and change this, is like $3,000 US per day. So actually, when I gave that example of moving 20,000, you're probably not going to be able to make that happen. You might be able to call in and request a different limit. I personally haven't. This is just one option. I actually use like a different way that I don't want to get in the weeds with to get my money. I wire it around and stuff. But wires, you can do much larger amount. And that's where maybe that wire option is. Like say you had 20,000, you're like, you know what, I want every dime like today in my Canadian bank account. You would have to call in and just have them initiate a wire rather than a transfer, if that makes sense. This is still the US dashboard, and this is the last screenshot I've got for you guys. I just want to show you, you're like, CFT, this all sounds great. What info do I need? So after you go and set up this account, you know, you've set it up, you've got all this, it's all linked, you're good to go. The information you need for Apex or for any company is an account number and a routing number. And I wrote it right on here. Your 9-digit routing number is an ACH number. It's referred to as ACH routing number, ACH transit routing number, like different people use different names, just routing number. It'll be 9 digits. That's your routing number. Remember, this is the US dashboard. So, one thing over here on the right, I clicked, show account details. It wasn't shown before. As soon as you click on that, now it says hide account details, and it shows you your full account info. And it's as simple as that. It shows your balance, obviously. It had a bit of my account number here. That's why I hit this. So that is kind of it, guys. You are armed with the info. Like I said, you can probably do this with any of the major banks. I don't know 100%. You definitely have to go and look them up and make sure it's proper. I mean, if you get to the point where you're like, I want to ask them a question, the question you want to ask them is, do you get a proper U.S. account number, but more importantly, a U.S. routing number? Because I know in the past some banks would have, in quotes, a U.S. dollar account, but it wasn't like an actual U.S. account. It was just an account on the Canadian side that they would denominate in U.S. dollars, but it was still a Canadian account. This, what I'm showing you, is a proper kind of U.S. account. So guys, I wrote all this information out, all the same screenshots. I explained them kind of like I did to you guys, but if you want a refresher, you don't want to rewatch the video, come here. It's just an option for people. And like I said, I don't think most people realize you can do this with Canadian banks. You can just go open a US dollar account. Most people just, they work with, say, Apex or whoever. And Apex says, sorry, we don't use Deal anymore. Sorry, we don't use Wise anymore. We're going to use Plain. And everybody just goes, oh, well, I guess I have to use Plain. And you can use Plain, but you do have other options. All you ultimately need is a way to have an account you can receive US dollars to. And this, what I just showed you, is one way of doing that. I mentioned very early on in the video, there's a third way. I didn't even write it in the article. And I don't think this is going to work for most people, just because if you're an actual person who travels to the U.S. often, you could technically go to a bank. I'm going to use Bank of America, BOA, as an example. As a Canadian, you can go into a branch and still open an account. So you could actually go into a physical bank branch and open an account that'll be a U.S. account as a Canadian. Now, the problem is, one, you have to physically transfer or travel to the United States to do such a thing. You won't have a problem with it unless rules have changed. It's been a long time since I had a family member who lived in Canada, but they opened a BOA, a Bank of America account, so they had an account in the U.S. when they traveled there. They had proper U.S. funds down there. The problem is it won't be linked to anything Canadian. So to get your money from, say, that BOA account, Bank of America in the U.S., to your Canadian account, you're going to, you're pretty much your only option is going to be to call in and do a wire or write yourself a check and then wait for that to clear. So it's not the most practical. It is an option, just so you know, though. You could physically go in and open an account. But guys, I will leave you with that. Hopefully this helps some people. Like I said, I used RBC and I used Apex as my primary examples, but this would certainly work for any company I can think of that I work with. This would definitely be an option. And hopefully that helps some people. So be sure to check out my site, and I will leave you with that. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.